Good evening and welcome to the very first TDM talk show of 2018. And just a couple of days before the end of the year, the Environmental Protection Bureau announced a 10-year plan to reduce solid waste. The aim is to attain a 30% reduction in 2026 through a number of measures, including adopting the polluter pays principle. Our guest has been in the forefront in terms of raising awareness on environmental issues. Joe Chan is the head of the Macau Green Students Union and a proactive environmentalist. Joe Chan, hi. Good evening.
Yeah, hi, good evening, everyone.
Thank you very much for joining us. Welcome to the show, and let me start by wishing you a Happy New Year.
Yeah, me too. It's my privilege to be here to share my personal opinion with all of the audience.
So you are the very first guest of the new year, and we have a very interesting topic to talk about. We're not only going to talk about solid waste, we're going to address other environmental issues, but let's start by this plan, 10-year plan, unveiled last week by the Environmental Protection Bureau, a 30% cut in solid waste in the coming decade.
Yeah.
Is it doable? Is it the right track? What's your take on this?
I take quite a positive side on the planning. Maybe it sounds a little bit, the objective is quite high, right? To cut off 30% of the solid waste
per capita.
In the forward decade. It's not easy, but I think we have to cooperate with them. But it's not bad. At least the government now aware of the dangers of the solid waste burden. We keep persuading government for many years about the dangers, about the limitation, the threshold we are having about the solid waste problem. But you can see the Macau chief executive, in a short-term period, they just focus in incinerating. They're building up a bigger incinerator,
right?
Yeah, to increase the capacity of incinerator. But this is not a sustainable way to solving this kind of problem.
So it takes a number of strategies, tools aimed at, like we have the 3 R's, right? Reducing, reusing, recycling.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of reduction, and we're going to address the other 2 R's, the measures proposed, in general terms, are along the lines of adopting the polluter pays principle.
I think it's a good thing. Definitely, this is the global trend of how we deal with our waste problem. In many developing countries, the one who polluted should be paid more for the cost they create. For a long time, Macau citizens have a misunderstanding about the price we're going to deal with our waste product. Everybody thinks that this is the cost the government have to pay for it, but actually we are paying for it not only with our own money and also the price for our future. So now is a good chance. We have to review about is there any good way we can reduce the burden, the impact to the environment. Is it necessary to create so many solid waste problems? Every year, the percentage keep increasing. Our population is not increasing dramatically, but the waste product we keep increasing. This is only one meaning. It means our society is going to be developed in a non-sustainable society. This is going in the opposite way the government try to promote. So I think it's a good time, at least in 10 years planning, we saw they aim in a very high requirement, high demanding goal. I think it's a good thing.
What about levying fees? I mean, polluter pays principle, imposing fees, and will people accept it lightly? I mean, are they aware of their role in this?
This is the main problem. It's not easy. I think it's good to set aim such a high, but it's not easy to achieve it because we have to get a consensus agreement from the public citizen, right? You can see, take an example, the tax-free of plastic bag. We have consulting it for more than 4 years until now, they are not put it in registration timetable. So if we really want to reduce the solid waste, we have to do something. The polluter pay more. We have to put it in cancellation. We have to put it on the table and the time to educate people. Why do we need to do this kind of thing? Government is not going to get the money in their pocket. They just try to reduce the burden, reduce the pollution for the environment for our next generation. So we have to do more advocation, education, let the people know, and we can discuss how to apply the principle. How about the fee? Are we going to adapt the system already used in Japan, Korea, or even in Taiwan? Even Hong Kong is still thinking about. They just finished the 2 years cancellation. Yeah, so they put it in a schedule in the registration process.
So we have the issue, of course, of the first R.
Yeah,
reducing. Reusing and recycling. Is Macau lagging behind other developed jurisdictions?
Definitely, yeah. I have.
In what ways?
I'm so sorry to say that, but we have to admit that we are doing recycling, but we are not doing it in an effectively or efficient way. You can see, according to Macau DSP department, they have a 10
Environmental Protection Bureau.
Environmental Bureau. They have a 10-year plan about try to increase the recycling rate. But they failed to get the short-term objective, and also the mid-term they also failed it. Because for a long time they're just building up more place, but they are not educating people enough. Why do we need to do it? Almost less than 10% of people are willing to participate in this kind of recycling campaign because they think, I just get used to the way we dump our waste. Why do we need to take all the material to even just 10 meters away? I think I don't get the need for changing my behavior. So this is the problem. How to persuade people, motivate them to do this? Education and legislation. Mm-hmm. So I have to say that the way is quite long. We are kind of lacking behind, right? We try to achieve even maybe we have to do it in a much more mandatory policy. So legislation is the policy we must go through.
In terms of best practices and benchmarks, I mean, if we look at the regional level, in the Asia-Pacific region, in China, in East Asia, is there a case of a specific place that you've been to that you are familiar with, a specific city or region that you think, these are the best practices and Macau should emulate them?
I think every city, they have their own different situation. We cannot exactly copy their system, but we can try to follow some of the samples, just like Singapore. They have a very long-term perspective. They're going to, how do they dealing with their waste product? They're recycling not only solid waste product, they're recycling their water, in drinkable water. But we are not going to follow the same way, but we can try to, because they are very, very reliant, they just like Macau, very crowded, and they rely on the natural resource from their neighboring country. So, but are we going to have this kind of determinant the government? Do they want to really to be the one to advocate this kind of change? Because you can see a lot of polluter is coming from Macau government.
So the government should set the example. And
yeah, you're right. Yeah,
doing that,
they take up a lot of resource, and also they're wasting a lot. So they should set a good example and let the big companies follow, and then all the citizens can have, you are doing your duty, and now is our time to we should change our behavior. So you get a lot of complaint from the Macau. From citizens. They're wasting a lot of energy. They have some kind of many festivals every year, encourage people buying, consuming. They are not really doing some kind of sustainable living style to showing to the citizens. So they are not pervasive. Yeah.
Talking about waste, I'd like to focus on a specific kind of waste, which is electronic waste of computers,
Battery.
exactly, batteries and all that. It's getting more and more serious, pretty much all over the world, but in a small place like Macau, that's surely the case, right?
You are right, definitely. This is one of the environmental issue we think we should put it in a very urgently needed, because among all the solid waste product, the electronic waste product is one of the most hazardous waste. It's not easy to do recycling. We have to cooperate with the neighboring region, because we don't have enough space to really doing the recycling, taking out the element inside. This is a lot, especially the portable the factory, iron factory. You know what we're talking about. They are very toxic, and all the elements, they are very expensive. If you recycling it, it not only saving the environment, it's saving your pocket, your money. So, but until now, so far, just next year, government just try to kick off a campaign, a policy, try to recycling battery and electronic appliances. But in fact, I have to tell you the truth, they are not successfully recycling all the material. They can only consolidate in cement. They just try to keep it, store it in concrete, and try to keep it for a longer time. It creating another bomb in future. I know they are trying to find a private company, try to really doing this kind of thing, try to recycling all the material inside, but it's not easy. We have to cooperate with another region.
Talking about cooperation, let's say regional cooperation.
Yeah, you're right.
We have the Greater Bay Area project for regional cooperation and integration. Do you see potential here for cooperation in terms of environmental protection, recycling, reusing, and other issues?
Yeah, definitely. We cannot just do it by our own. Not only the electronic waste, even the paper, the metal, the plastic waste product, 99% of the waste product, finally we have to export it to mainland China to do the final step of recycling all. So, but are we going to have a long-term cooperation or negotiation with them to share the burden? For a long time, we just do a very rough recycling in our own step. But this year, at the end of July, mainland China government set a very strict standard about all the resource material going to be imported to the mainland China. So now they increase the standard. Now, if pushing it, we have to do our own duty. So you can see this is a trend. We have no way to try to escape from it. So in the near future, I think the government realized the need, and they just, this is the planning, they try to show their determination. They try to do something. Maybe they try to warning people, we are actually forcing you to change your behavior now.
You mentioned plastics, and there's people talking about the epidemics of plastic. How serious is it?
You mean
in terms of waste and the problem of us, the modern society is being too much focused on these kind of materials, and then the problems that this poses to even the ocean and the waters.
Yeah, the plastic pollution is one. Because among all of the resource material, plastic is the one, the value is very low. Even the people on the street, they are not willing to recycling it because they cannot make money from them. So far, there's only Macau government doing this kind of, they subsidize some kind of NGO to help people to recycling plastic. But actually, plastic material is very useful. They can make clothes, they can make many things you want. And also, for a long time, we are neglecting the damage, the toxic within plastic. We don't have any education or promotion. Try to teach people. Oh, using more plastic bottle, the chemical inside is actually some kind of environmental hormone. The changing, the development stage in your body. So there's a lot of people. The impact is not only for the nature, it's also in our body for our future. So
there's not much awareness on
yeah,
that,
there's
right?
not much awareness. Nobody talking about that. Even in your textbook, nobody. People will say, "Oh, the plastic waste problem, maybe the pollution for the ocean." They have no idea the plastic getting inside your ecosystem now. Everything you eat nowadays, you get the fish from ocean. You find very tiny plastic particle in the fish, and even shrimp. Even nowadays, the water you're drinking in your plastic bottle water, they have.
Let's say for instance,
this is a
grass, right?
Yeah, it's unlucky. This is not plastic. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
So nobody noticed that because they're cutting profit from some kind of big company. Nobody going to put it in the advertisements. Yeah. So the government should take a much more active role to educate people. Why do we need to change it? Reduce the usage of plastic. It's not good for your health also. Yeah, not only for the environment.
You mentioned more than once, a number of times, the importance of education.
Yeah,
you
you're
are
right.
an educator yourself.
Yeah.
And also, your bachelor degree or major is in life sciences. And my question has got to do, in general terms at large, with awareness, education. What has to be done? If you have to prioritize strategies, what would you suggest? I mean, for the government and civil society and schools to be more proactive in this respect?
Yeah, I think in terms of education, we should first focus on our main target, the citizen, right? We should give them more knowledge to arouse the concern about the environment. For a long, long time, we just give some kind of advertisement, recycling. Why do we need to do recycling? What is the impact on us and on the nature? We have no idea. We have put too much the advertisement on marketing or in the consuming, right? How can we change consumerism into sustainability? This is not easy, I know, but we should show it not only in the textbook of the school and also in the policy or how the whole government is running. Show people what is the sample. And a lot of casino in Macau, they are doing great. Yeah, some of the policy they are using recycling energy and the cost the recycling all the material. Actually, they're doing very well.
So, for instance, when it comes to the impact of smoking in one's health and on public health, that has become very clear. But it took time for people to realize, right?
Yeah, you're right. Because the adverse effect on environmental pollution may be a very chronic and a long-term one. People, when you realize you get the problem, maybe it's too late. Yeah. Nowadays, air pollution is the first priority for public concern because everybody you can feel it. You can feel it. Yeah. You got no way to escape. You can't wearing a mask in a street. Every time when you walk outside, you can feel it. You can recall all the toxic from the vehicle. Now, so this is the reason. You're right. My bachelor is in life science, but my doctorate degree is in public health. This is the cutting point, because people, when they talk about environmental issue, it relates to the health, they pay more attention.
That's right. So,
Time,
so
yeah.
people can see the impact and the effect, which is of course something probably more compelling in terms of awareness.
Much more compelling, persuasive.
Persuasive.
Yeah.
Air pollution. Well, this would be a show on its own to talk about air pollution issues. But very quickly and briefly, well, we all know the problems that arise from outside of Macau. What about domestically, internally, something that could be done in a matter of a couple of years on short-term ways to handle air pollution and to reduce the impact of air pollution?
You mean air pollution, right? In a short term, I think Macau government is doing great. In the past few years, they have tried to cut the amount of vehicle on the road and try to increase the mobility of our citizens. Nowadays, it's easy to take bus. Yeah, we all notice that more bus available on the street. And in the long term, I think it's already working. Macau government is constructing more user-friendly the pathway for the citizen. Now you're getting broader way for walking. Maybe in future,
more pedestrian friendly in the whole city, right?
Yeah, you're right. It's much more convenient for us, but because in the past we have to squeeze in a very small space walking on the street, but now they got more space for the pedestrian and they limit the amount of vehicle on the road. I think it takes time. Maybe.
But do you think there should be more, I would say, assertive or shall say aggressive or proactive policies in that respect to reduce the number of vehicles on the streets? Because there is an objective, a cap in terms of the growth rate of vehicles, but wouldn't it be necessary? Not only that, but way more than that, which is to reduce the number of vehicles substantially. It's not easy, but
it's not easy. Yeah, definitely we have to cut. We have to set a number. Every city they have their total capacity of how many vehicles they can really stand it.
Have we got that in Macau?
We don't have any such scientific evidence or research to support this idea.
So you think that should be a step, an important step to be taken, and then from then on to draft a policy and measures,
strategy, how to reduce the burden on the vehicle we are facing. Every year we keep increasing the vehicle around 5 or 4%, right? But if you increase the cost by having a car, maybe in less than 5 years, in this year, you can see an obvious change. In this year, the percentage of the increase of vehicle is dropped to 1 or 2%. Mm-hmm. It's quite effective. Yeah. So I think I quite promise.
You can see some improvement.
Improvement.
Right?
It's quite promising. Yeah.
Now, talking about plannings and 10-year plans. Well, we started by discussing the solid waste reduction plan, but there was another overall 10-year plan by the Environmental Protection Bureau covering the current decade.
Yeah.
2010 to 2020. There were short-term and also mid-term and long-term goals. And then long-term meant 2016 to 2020. Well, without going into much the specific details, how successful has Macau been in this respect? Have most of the goals been achieved or not really?
Mm-hmm. I'm so sad to say that. We have to admit that we are not truly, the government is not truly doing what they're supposed to do. In the long term, the 10 years Environmental Protection Protocol, you can find there's around 13 index, 13 goals they're going to achieve. But most of it, almost only 3 or 4 terms, only 3 or 4 index, they meet their target. Most of them, they failed to achieve it in the midterm assessment. I don't think they really can make it on the long-term growth in just less than 3 years. But I think we should think in a positive way. Macau government now realize this is not difficult to change citizen behavior just by their own planning. They have to cooperate with NGO or maybe more enterprise. We all have to do it together, and we have to put it in cancellation. It's not just by they make the decision by their own. They have to put all of the idea all together, and then we can help them to work on it to achieve their goal. It's not easy to make. It's that now they learn the lesson.
One of these goals, in terms of long-term goals, I can see here, this is to wrap up our talk. There would be many other issues to address, but strengthening supervision over prevention and control of light pollution.
Light pollution, yeah.
Has that been achieved? Not really, right?
Not really. There's not much. There's not many things.
But light pollution is becoming more and more an issue. Over the recent couple of years, more and more civil society groups have been calling on the government and on authorities to pay attention to it.
Yeah, now this is not only the problem in our city. You can see our neighboring region, a lot of light pollution coming to us.
Coming from Hangzhou.
Yeah, Hangzhou, you know, the light polar that's stuck in your eyes every night. So in the following 3 years, this problem becomes so distinct. Everybody realized, oh, this is really a problem. Now the
previously it was kind of neglected, would you?
You can just put on your curtain and you just ignore it. But now you can't find any way to get rid of your view. Now there are more and more casino or hotel using the spotlight during nighttime. They spot it out, they flash the light up to the sky. Every night you can see they keep swinging, and we have no way to stop them because we have no put it into a legislation council, or we have no timetable. How are we going to solve the problem? We just give them suggestion. Oh, should we just? I think in the long term, governments should have take a much more
active. Should there be specific legislation targeting light pollution?
Light pollution
in terms of energy consumption and also the visual impacts, right?
Yeah, you're right. Not only energy saving, they also they're causing ecological impact. A lot of birds flying at night, they will get blind by this kind of light pollution. I think they should have some kind of limitation about the time, how do you use the billboard, and also the light, the brightness. Because using brighter advertising billboard, you're using more energy. So maybe they can have a win-win. If you set a limitation, if you set a guideline, they have to follow. Now they're having a competition. Oh, your company using a brighter one, I can use a much more brighter one. Yes. This is coming to a adverse cycle. This is not going to work out. Yeah.
Joe Chan, before we finish, I'd like to quote you and then ask you a question based on this quotation. You once said in an interview, and I'm quoting, that Macau should be a place where environmental policies can be effectively executed because it has an enormous amount of economic power and talent, and it's compact. And it's a compact space, end of quotation. You say should be. Is that the case? Why isn't Macau like that? And what can be done to achieve that goal? Are you optimistic?
I have to say that I try to be optimistic. Yeah, if I fail to believe that government can do it, I will become so desperate. I think we got the resource. We have the highest GDP almost in a nearing region. Yeah, we got all the resource, financial need, and all the things we need, except the political will. Are we really want to build up a sustainable city or not? Or we just try to make the fast money, sacrificing our future generation resource, or this depends on the policymaker.
See, is it because of, you mentioned political will?
Yeah, political will.
And we also have interests at stake here, right?
Yeah.
Vested interests and openly regarded instant interests. So political courage, determination, vision? What could be done?
It's quite complicated, yeah, talking about this. Because everybody knows the problem. Our city is losing. We're losing our direction. We are still figuring out. Ideally, we try to build up a city eco-friendly, tourist-friendly, citizen-friendly. But are we going with this kind of pace? We have to question about that.
With a bit of glimpse of hope, perhaps I might suggest you to comment on the new generations, because you've been, as an educator, you have all these environmental associations, they've been involved, and you deal with younger generations, with the so-called millennials, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Are they ready to make a difference and to do something about it in the future?
Yeah, optimistic. They are the new power. They are the new force in changing our next civilization. Because a lot of young people, they already aware of the problem we are creating. They already notice that if we are not fixing the problem, they are going to be suffer. So now more and more people join the green team now. Maybe one day, I think less than 10 years, they will become the policy maker. I wish they can have the passion, have the same passion, and we can change it. In terms, we are not destroying our city in a reverse way. Yeah.
And with that, we finish our talk. Joe-chan, thank you very much for joining us.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Pleasure to have you on the show.
Me too.
Fascinating stuff. Thank you very much. And to you at home, thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next week.